What I wanted to start by is talking about what's on probably a lot of your minds, what happened in Parkland, Florida. What I can assure you is that I have been able to think of very little else beyond what happened a week ago in Florida. It's absolutely devastating to think about what happened to those families, to think about what happened to those children. And in particular, something that just really stuck in my mind and has just been replaying over and over again in my head was about those text messages that the students were sending to their parents. The text messages that they were so scared that this was potentially going to be the last text message that they sent, the last communication to their parents. One that I sort of stuck in my head was from a student named Sarah. And she said, "If I don't make it, I love you and I appreciate everything you did for me." And that, I just kind of reread that over and over again, and I could feel the heaviness in those words. I could feel the frightened fingers typing that out. Because I had to touch something like that once before in my life too. I had that kind of experience. I know what it's like to feel like this is your last communication with the person you love most. When I was I served in Afghanistan. I was a diplomat over there trying to help with the peace process. And I was working over at the military base one day. And the base, we started hearing some gunfire. We thought that the gunfire was just an exercise or something like that. But we soon heard the explosion. We started hearing that there was something else, and then the sirens went off. The duck and cover sirens went off. I remember the gunfire was so close that we thought that there was a breach of the base. We thought perhaps that the enemy had breached the base and were potentially outside. The colleagues that I had who were military servicemen and women immediately got up and we tried to come up with a plan of how we were going to get to safety. I remember when we went outside and we could hear the gunfire, we could hear the rocket-propelled grenades going off. And we were running towards some sort of hardened shelter, something where we can take some cover. And when we got to the first wall, my heart was beating, and I took out my phone, and I wrote a message to my wife while we took break there and tried to think of our next steps. And this morning, I actually dug that message up, and I want to it's very brief, but I just wanted to read it to you. I wrote to my wife, Cam, and I wrote very briefly, "Cammy, base is under attack. I am taking cover. I love you so much, Andy." And that's all I had the time to write. That's all I had the time to write. Was there was a window in which one of the servicemen and women that I was working with grabbed my arm and said, "We got to stick together." And we ran over to the base, the gym in the base, which is the only building that had hardened walls. And we took cover there for 20 hours while we were under attack. And I just desperately wanted to hear my wife's voice on the phone. I desperately wanted to tell her how I felt, and knowing that I couldn't imagine what she was going through on the other end. Yet receiving that message, thinking about and worrying about me. And I was there, worried about just the battery life on my phone so I could try to keep on calling, but the service wasn't getting through. So I tell you that because what's happening is so devastating. That what the children went through, the families that were shattered, nobody should have to go through and write that kind of message. Nobody should have to go through that kind of pain. That's why we are turning to our government, that the children are now leading this. The teenagers are the ones leading the moral charge right now, instead of our elected leaders. And simple, common sense things that we should be doing. I can't believe that we have a Congress that is moving forward, a House of Representatives that is moving forward on the concealed carry reciprocity bill. I can't believe that they're trying to think of ways to make it easier for people to access silencers. Yet other measures, like strengthening background checks, getting rid of bump stocks, regulating high-capacity magazines, that these are things that our lawmakers are not going forward and doing. Things that would make us safe. Instead, it's up to the teenagers, to the people who survived this deadly attack just days ago, to be leading this charge. Well, I tell you now that I stand with them. I think you do too. You are here 9 months before Election Day because you know that we deserve better as a society. That we can and must be doing better. And if it's going to be the students of Parkland that move this forward, then so be it. Our job is to stand there with them and do everything we can to be able to make sure that our government doesn't get let off the hook this time. We have to go through this every single time. Every single time that there's a massacre.